Hello, everybody, and grand rising to everyone. It is an early Friday morning, and I have my great sister, Kingdom sister, Miss Maggie Millwood here this morning. And if you didn't know, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. You know, I know there's this National Day calendar, and it kind of keeps us aligned with what the world says is this month, this week, and tell us when to celebrate. But I truly believe that every day we get up, we should take care of the whole person, mind, body, soul, spirit. So every day is Mental Health Awareness Day to me. But in light of the National Day calendar, I wanted to just introduce you to Miss Maggie Millwood. She is an awesome woman. And I recently met her, and you try the spirit by the spirit, and we just really connected. She is kind but tenacious. I can see that about her. And she's very, very knowledgeable about holistic health. She's a nutritionist, she's a women's educator. And so I'm like, she's talking my language because no one wants to be on meds the rest of their life, right? And Maggie has a way of really bringing us centered to holistic health. So, Maggie, I just want you to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your history, how you got to natural medicine and the holistic approach, and then we'll get into the combo.
Hi, Roz. Good morning. It's such a delight to be here with you. I am so excited that you invited me to go live with you this morning, and really excited to also be in a timely zone where we can speak and address mental health. As you shared, mental health is our first wealth. So I totally resonate with that. And a little bit about me. I'm a holistic nutritionist. I reside here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm the youngest of 12 children. The inspiration of holistic health came originally from my grandma, who was always walking around with something that was naturally inspired. And she was always teaching me as a little girl, being at the end of the line of so many grandchildren. She used to make a lot of fun with me, always telling me she was over 100 years old. But as it turned out, she was actually pretty close, and the lady looked amazing. So she was my inspiration. She often had all these little remedies, or what I later found out to be homeopathic pills that she'd give to us that would strengthen our constitution, help to protect our immune systems. And as I grew up and recognized that she had been this pioneer, I really eventually found my sweet spot when I recognized in a second career change. I was originally doing marketing, then I decided to just go full on for the thing that I was passionate about, which is natural health. And she just came right back in front of me, and I saw the reason that she had that intentionality was to help people to empower their lives through health. And having put on her shoes, so to speak, I can really tell you that that's my passion, Roz. I love to support people and to bring their awareness to the idea of taking care of the mind, body, and spirit, the mind, body,
Yeah.
soul, and spirit is the way to address the whole person. I discovered as I began exploring this field, I discovered that so many of us are disconnected, that we don't make that connection between our minds, our bodies, our souls, and our spirits. And so it's my great joy. I like to consider myself to be the perfect nutritionist who brings hope to women over 40 who experience dis-ease and imbalance. Yeah. And helps to
Right.
restore them to that healthy cycle.
Oh my. I know I said about 20 minutes, but I mean you're starting to speak my language because as we do get older, and I don't want to go too far off the beaten path from mental health awareness, but we just let the Holy Spirit lead. So I want to start off by asking a few questions right off the bat.
Okay.
what are some myths or fallacies about medicine versus natural, holistic, homeopathic remedies? And are you a friend of medicine doctors or foe, or do you work in alliance? So I know I asked two loaded questions.
They are loaded, but I'll say this. I am a big believer of integrative medicine. So I wish the world could see that the 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 focus shouldn't be on the medicine or the method. It should be on what the person needs for healing. And that's kind of where I come from. So um, you need to address what the person needs using as many modalities as possible to help them. We're not one dimensional creatures, we are three dimensional. And so you can't just use one remedy and think that that's going to solve the problem. Unfortunately, modern medicine, especially Western medicine, seems to want to uh, shut down or patch a particular issue without addressing the whole person. And that's why it's getting a bad reputation. And a lot of the solutions that are used, and speaking of solutions, the name of my business is Perfect Health Solutions. And that's the whole idea behind it. It's to solve the problem perfectly for the individual. And so uh, modern medicine tends to address using one particular remedy to address that one situation in that one moment in time. But health is a complete life walk. It is a shift or a change in the picture of health from time to time, but it's a whole life walk. It has to be your entire life and it has to be the whole person. So that's sort of where the angle of modern medicine is getting a bad rap. But I have doctors in my family, Roz, so I know about the whole thing. But medicinally, there are moments where modern medicine is really, really important. Just as we were chatting a little bit before we jumped on, um, addressing, for example, women's urinary tract infections. There are natural health remedies that can help that. But if it escalates, it's modern medicine that can shut it down. So it's really important to recognize that an integrative approach is the best, but we have a responsibility to our own bodies to naturally support it and prevent it. And that's where natural health comes in really, really strongly because taking care of your health, preventing crisis, preventing illness, helping your body and listening to your body heal itself is a really important angle. And natural health supports, upgrades, helps the body to kick into what it was naturally created to do, which is to heal. Our bodies weren't created to be shut down. And unfortunately, sometimes modern medicine does that. So that's where I stand. I'm a huge supporter of all the modalities that it takes to heal the person, that it takes to support the client. I can't, of course, bash any practitioner who has spent time studying, but I wish that the natural and the modern medicine world worked more intimately together to help to solve the issue that concerns
Absolutely.
the patient.
Abs- Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for that great um, explanation. I just want to dive into mental health. So, it is mental, um, let me back up. Is depression a chemical imbalance? And do people really need medication from a prescribed, source in order to live that balance? Do you believe that?
Um, Ross, to be honest, I'm not obviously a medical doctor. So I can't address everything about what the medication can and cannot do. And obviously, from their perspective, the the level of depression might warrant some medication for a while. I think my biggest complaint is because modern medicine has gotten into the field of just administering and prescribing drugs to solve an issue. sometimes, again, we forget that there are people, and people evolve and change. And sometimes, I'm sure that every person that has been prescribed some kind of mental health prescription, they haven't literally had their head examined, meaning they haven't had an x-ray. There hasn't been research to see if it's a chemical imbalance for real. It's an emotion that they're experiencing or some trauma that they're going through. It has thrown them a loop in life, and then they have been given these meds. And so since that's not possible in every single situation, the one thing that I am always concerned about is, could we have looked at it differently? Could we have looked at it, instead of blocking an emotion or blocking the response to the emotion, could we have looked at a way to get them out of where they're at? And the number one thing is that many times when a person goes on medication, they either don't ask the doctors or the doctors don't tell them, but they don't have to stay on it forever. So, as you said, you may not have to stay on that medication for your life. You may not have to stay on it for more than a month. For example, let's look at grief. Grief is a big, big, big subject, but it's part of the human life process. And with grief, it could be because you've lost someone you loved and you're grieving and you can't get out of the grief. So you go to the doctor and you tell your doctor, years ago, like almost 100 years now, you could do that. You could go to your family doctor and tell them that you were not feeling well in your soul because of grief. And they wouldn't have given you medication for it. They would have listened to you. They would have known your family. They would have gotten to understand where you're coming from. And they might have just suggested, go and walk in the sunshine, or let's get you some extra support. And it wouldn't have come in the form of a pill. The solution would have come more holistically. But these days, for whatever the reasons, you get a pill to get through grief. You get a pill to help ease out your depression from grief. But grief is something that you have to face. It's something that you need support from. A pill doesn't solve the problem. It's something where you need energy. Grief sucks your energy. You need more energy. You need more support. And in this time, for example, this month of May 2021, where we are going through a pandemic, we've gotten out of the shock of last year, but we're still going through the pandemic. There is huge aftershocks. There are huge fallouts. People have lost jobs. They've lost loved ones. They haven't been able to hug their loved ones, and grief is everywhere. And believe me, this is a fact. I know so many people that have received prescriptions for depression and grief, and it might not have been the appropriate thing for them, or they've just been left to think that they should continue on these meds forever, and it might never occur to them that they can go back to their doctor and say, hey, I feel better. After 1 month, I don't want to be addicted to it anymore. So please get me off this. Let's see what else I can try.
Right.
So the patient will be responsible too.
You mentioned sunshine. What relevance to sunshine is related to mental health?
Great question, Roz. Great question. I'm here in Canada, as you know, and right now the day is very dismal. Let me see if I can show it to you a little bit. It's supposed to be a spring day.
Wow.
And it's kind of overcast. And sunshine is a great source, not only of hope and joy and warmth, warms your bones, but it elevates the mood. And the source of how it elevates the mood, which is associated with mental health, is the vitamin D that it gives to us. Vitamin D is literally good for our bones. I think most people know that. It helps the absorption of calcium into the bone. But it also, in terms of science and research, they're now calling it more of a hormone than a vitamin. So it's actually sending messages to our body and changes our mood. So I'm sure anyone who loves sunshine, who's been outside in the sunshine, or even has stayed inside and seen the sun shining outside, your mood automatically lifts up. So
Yeah.
that's psychological, but it actually physically and physiologically changes the body and
Wow.
help you to elevate your mood. And of course, supplementally, like if you spend your whole year indoors, you're going to lack vitamin D. You're going to register low on vitamin D blood tests. So it's important to supplement with vitamin D, especially if you live north of the equator, or if your job keeps you indoors a lot. And, even in Jamaica, for example, which is my homeland, there are lots of folks who are vitamin D deficient, even though they get sunshine most of the year, because they spend a lot of time in offices working. The whole world, there are huge percentages of the world where folks are vitamin D deficient, and people of color are very vitamin D deficient if you live north of the equator too, because the melanin in our skin tone, the darker our skin tone, is the harder for the body to absorb that vitamin D. So it's really
Hmm.
important for mental health and for the strengthening of your bones to know what your vitamin D status is, get a good blood test done, find out what it is, and work with a holistic practitioner to help to repair the vitamin D intake. Because doctors on the whole will tell you to take vitamin D, but they might not go into the personalized approach of finding out how much you need as a person.
Right, right. So let's talk about women's mental health. Our hormones change after a certain age.
Yes, yes, that's true.
What are some of the practices or remedies have for women that are going through menopause or past menopause? I know there are a lot of doctors who are providing hormones. Um,
Ah, hmm.
some are, you know, more harsh than others. And when I say harsh, and I'm not very educated on it, some are getting pellets, and compounded hormones that are inserted body, and they continue to get them, whereas some get shots. What is your take on that?
Um, I'm glad you asked me that actually, Roz, because as you know, I love women's health. Uh, so for ladies who are, I mean, women and men actually, our hormones are constantly changing. I'm sure you're familiar with the word stress, which also relates to mental health. If you're stressed, chances are your mental health is in jeopardy. And if you're not aware of it, you won't get a grasp on it, and it can overwhelm and therefore have an effect on our mental health and well being. And stress comes through the body as thoughts or experiences that have an effect on us, and it changes or affects our cells physically. Our very thoughts can
Wow.
change how our cells function. And that is also based on the hormone cortisol. Cortisol changes your whole physique. Cortisol can uh, literally, to save our lives, cortisol is there to hold on to fat supplies. So, of course, it changes our body fat and our metabolism if we have an imbalance of the hormone cortisol. And this is true for men and women. But I think what you wanted me to address was not just that women from, teenage status, from young woman status, your hormones change then, your hormones change again if you are in the birthing years and you have children. And then later on in life, through menopause, women's hormones change again with the drop off of estrogen. And that's one of the areas that I'm very, very fascinated with, helping women through perimenopausal years into the menopausal years, and um, what is called postmenopause, but it's never really postmenopause. It's usually perimenopause, means around menopause, and menopause is just 1 year of your life where your menstrual cycle stops. So over a period of 12 months, and that's it. So there are natural ways for a woman to learn to eat well, to exercise, to take care of herself, and to support your body with not actual hormone replacement, but supporting the hormones, especially the stress, so that the imbalance of the other hormones falling off isn't as strong. And there are two things I'd say to women. You must take care of your cardiovascular system post-menopause, and you must take care of your bone health. So that's why I always encourage ladies who are going through menopause to start learning how to eat well, eat differently, take good care of their diet, take good care of their physicality, get out there, do some exercise, and breathe and take care of that inner calm, take care of that peace, take care of that source that we understand of who you are. It's a great opportunity for women to spoil themselves completely. We tend to forget to do that because we've been nurturing so many around us. But these are the freedom years. You need to take good care of yourself through menopause. And you can do it almost 100% naturally. There are some ladies who just opt in to do hormone replacement. That's entirely their choice. Not one that I would recommend necessarily, but sometimes I understand completely. It's just a state you find yourself in and you have to normalize. But if you do, then that means you have to dig even deeper in terms of nourishing your body, natural health, finding a way to get that release from stress and so on, so that you don't have to be on it forever. Sometimes hot flashes drive women crazy too. So I understand.
Yes, like I, I've personally been walking and felt like I've burst into flames, like
Oh, Roz, I can help you with that.
I'm like, what is this?
Yes,
It's
yes,
like
yes. I
that
like helping
song.
ladies through
What
that.
is that song? Who sings that song? This girl is on fire.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I'm on fire.
The
But
number one thing I'd say to that, if you wanted me to give you a number one tip for life, I would say drink your water, drink lots and lots and lots. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
that's a great tip.
Yeah,
One last question before we get off.
sure.
You mentioned in a former conversation and again today about breathing.
Yeah.
How important is it to breathe and what does that do?
Well, Roz, to me, breathing is obviously living and people forget. But when you are stressed, like, first of all, we take breathing for granted because we get to breathe, therefore we're alive. But that's not necessarily true. The only time we really get to live is in the 3.3 seconds of inhaling and exhaling. That's what life is, every 3.3 seconds. If you don't breathe after the 3.3 seconds, we're not here. So we shouldn't take it for granted. But there's also a way to breathe that is really important. And we should learn how to do that well so that we maximize our lung capacity. In these times of the pandemic, even more so, COVID attacks your lungs. You need to learn to strengthen your lungs. It's also the passage of eliminating what's toxic in the body through the breath. So you inhale good air, you exhale bad air. Whatever's been happening in the body needs to be expelled. You could also do it mentally from a mental health perspective. Inhale good thoughts, wonderful things that are going to fill your soul and spirit. Exhale what's not serving you, what's not good anymore. Get rid of it. So, from that perspective, that's why breathing is so important to me. But then there's also the little factor called stress. Do you know
Yeah.
that when we are stressed out, Roz, we literally stop breathing? I don't know if you've ever caught yourself, but if you're even having a good thought, let's say you're a businesswoman, you're always, thinking about planning, motivating, inspiring somebody else. Let's say you get really caught up in a project. Catch yourself. You'll find that sometimes you stop breathing because you're so focused. So that's good stress. But let's think about even watching a television program. Sometimes if you're, inside the show and it's an action show, you might find that you get so caught up in it, you stop breathing. Or if you're watching news, for example, what's going on in India right now is horrible. If you're an empathetic person like me, something like that can literally stop you from breathing. But let's say it's real, hard stress in your life, you're not going to breathe. So what I'm trying to do is raise the awareness and remind folks, breathing is not to be taken for granted. It can serve you. It pushes oxygen into your cells. It nourishes your cells. Taking in a deep breath daily, repeatedly, is so helpful for you, which is why cardiovascular activity, getting out there and doing some walking, speed walking, slow walking, running, just moving the body pushes you to breathe and get oxygen around your body. And if you can't get to do that in the moment that you're stressed, practice deep breathing. I give all my clients that. I love it. I love recommending it. So
That
thanks for
is
asking that.
amazing. And we got a little feedback here, but everything that you have said does align with promoting great mental health. And that is our first wealth, in all of our getting up to do each and every day. What good is it if we don't have a great mental capacity?
So true.
Yeah,
So true, Roz. I spoke
Maggie.
earlier this week on Instagram Live about decluttering the mind and helping helping the spirit to drive you forward. And together they help to shape your health. So I totally agree with you. It is your first wealth for sure.
Well, dear, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for getting up early with me. I know I'm an early bird. This is definitely going to be helpful for those who drop by and those who will listen to the replay. How can people reach you if they want services or want to counsel with you?
Oh, Roz, thank you for asking that. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the founder of Perfect Health Solutions. Because I'm in Canada, my website is Perfect Health Solutions with an S.ca. You can also find me on social media at The Perfect Nutritionist on Instagram and on Facebook, and here on LinkedIn as well, Maggie Millwood. Yeah, that's me. And on Clubhouse, if you
Awesome.
join Clubhouse, you'll find me too.
Yes, that is awesome. Well, you just knocked the ballpark out of your blessed day. And thank you again, Maggie,
You
for being
too.
here.
You command your day, Roz. I know you do, and have a wonderful
Command,
one.
look, command,
And
prioritize,
prioritize,
plan,
and
and what?
execute.
Just do it.
We got it. Just do it. Have a great day,
Awesome.
Roz. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.